if you are getting the same sub problem in the code, you do not recalculate it, right? You just use it value by just looking at, okay, I have already calculated this value. So today we'll be discussing two like few famous problems. Let's start from simple problem. This is a very important interview question, and it is a very basic problem in dynamic programming, but yeah, it is very important. And like if someone wants to ask these kind of related problems in the interview, they will start from LIS basically. So who is that guy who know already the LIS code in dynamic programming? By knowing, I mean that he should be able to exactly write the like recursive expression, and he should be able to code it, like frankly, very frankly, right? So is there anyone who already know the LIS problem? I think the full form is longest increasing subsequence, right? Okay, subsequence. So what does LIS do is that so yeah, exactly, this is what happens actually, Ganesh. Like, yep, exactly. Like the moment you read in your class like in your curriculum, like I also remember that my time I like the professor did it actually, but the professor did it and I understood also at that time. But if someone is like, so this is very simple one, but I mean, like after this one we will discussing some more problems. Like yeah, exactly. So Ganesh mentioning that after doing some efforts I will be able to do it. Yeah, exactly. So but this is a very basic problem, so you should be very much clear at this point of time, because you're in third year, you're about to go in fourth year, and the interviewer may start from this question, right? So if you're not able to answer this question only, it will be difficult. So interviewer can get a like negative impression that he's not able to solve the basic problem at least. So you should be very much clear about like it basically these kind of questions, questions are very prominent and very famous problems in dynamic programming you should be having in your class basically, right? So you do not need to like remember and all those things, or you like, so effort should be given to those problems which is kind of new, right? Interviewer is anyway going to ask you some problems which will be exactly new to you, right? So yeah, so LIS problem is longest increasing subsequence. So first of all, we will just revise that what is subsequence basically in a string, right? Or yeah, so subsequence is something like let me take example. So there is a difference between what we say subsequence and one more keyword is there, substring, right? So substring is something like which is continuous, right? Whenever we talk about the substring of a string, that means that the characters, some part of it should be continuous. It should not be that you are taking first part from the beginning and then kind of you are taking middle part from somewhere else, and then again in the end part you took something else, some character, right? So that should not be the case with substring basically, right? So substring is a kind of continuous part in a particular given string. But the subsequence, the definition of subsequence goes like this, that you can pick any character from like whatever position you want. The ordering of the position do not matter basically, right? But in the case of substring, the ordering of the positions do matter, right? So for example, let me take one example. Yep, exactly. So such is mentioning that order is fixed in the substring, that's true. But in the case of subsequence, the order do not matter. You can pick, like, it should not be continuous basically. Yeah, the order can be like, you can pick anything from anywhere, right? So for let me take an example that we are having 80 and then 70, 768, whatever, right? 12 and then 100, right? And then whatever you want, right? Let us say 560, then 5676, and then 567. Oh, sorry, 567 got repeated. Then 354, and then we are having, for example, this one, right? So for example, if you're taking this particular array and 3, 6, 8, so 8 elements are present in this particular array, right? And we want to find a subsequence, like longest increasing subsequence. So subsequence is one thing which you already know, right? Subsequence is something like you can pick any element from any order basically, and it should not be continuous. For example, I can pick first element, fourth element, and sixth element. So these 3 elements makes a subsequence for this particular array, right? But the subsequence, if you talk about the subsequence, so subsequence should be continuous. If I'm starting from 100, so it should be like 100, 567, and whatever till the point you want to continue, right? So it should be continuous substring, but the subsequence cannot be continuous, right? 100, and then 5676, and then 6876, right? This is the definition of subsequence. Now talk about the increasing, right? So both the second keyword here is increasing. So it should be obvious, this general meaning of increasing. It should be in the increasing order, right? So the second element should be greater than first element. I like that, right? And the first keyword says that longest, so it should be the longest. So that means that the size of the subsequence should be as maximum as possible, right? So yeah, this is as simple as this question. So actually, like even if you do not need dynamic programming, then also you should be able to solve it, because like this is very crystal clear. But just for formality purpose, I am just taking this question. So can anyone please write who are mentioning in the chat box that they know the LIS problem, that what will be the recursive expression in this question? Anyone? What will be the recursive expression of the problem? Please write in the chat box. If you think that if you can recall or something, if you think that you will not be able to recall, please post in the chat box that okay, so that I can go ahead, right? But I'm believing that since some of you have already mentioned that you know, so I just wanted to hear from all of you guys that anyone, no one, okay. Yeah, so LIS problem, so just concentrate. So I was just mentioning about the concentration thing, that you have to concentrate on a particular thing at one point of time, right? So we are just kind of concentrating on the keywords. It should be the longest, right? So longest means that it can be increasing, it should be increasing, and it should be subsequence, right? So that means that so just think from brute force approach or very new approach. What will be the new approach? So see, just think in the terms of like hit and trial. What can be, right? So let's assume that okay, it can start from 80. Let us say it starts from 80. So what we need to do, we need to keep on checking. Basically, we need to keep on checking that what other elements are there after 80 which are greater than 80, right? So 80s can be there, 768, but if you're taking 768, then you cannot take these elements, right? Then you have to again jump to 5676, and then you have to 6876, right? So you remember I was mentioning about that you have to create one definition in dynamic programming, which will be deciding basically that what is the definition of the DP array. We call it as a DP, basically DP array, 2-dimensional or whatever 1-dimensional the problem is given. So I'm just making one array basically, and I will define what this array means. So LIS array I have defined, and the definition of LIS array is that so you mean what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to mention to you that we need to define. So first of all, we need to think that whether it is a problem two-dimensional or one-dimensional, right? That is the first, that should be the first thought, right? So it seems like it can start from anywhere, right? It can end to anywhere, right? But how many possibilities are there? If you talk about the start and end indexes, you see why I am stressing on this stuff basically. So this is how you get the idea basically that how much dimension exists in this problem. So you see, whatever may be the answer, right? It will start from an index and it will end to index, right? And that will be denoted as, let us say, I comma j, right? And how many possible combination of I comma j exist? Any idea how many possible combination of I comma j exist? It should be NC2, right? I mean, like, yeah, exactly, n square, because I can be anything, and j, then in that particular case, j can be anything after that I, right? So in the worst scenario, it can go up to n square basically, right? Done with making array one directional n square. Yep, exactly. You direction will be one, but yeah, you have written exactly correct that n square. So that is what I want to focus that. I mean, like whatever I and j may be, but it will be n square basically, right? So that is giving hint in your brain that this problem can be solved by two-dimensional DP basically, right? In the worst scenario, right? This problem can be solved by two-dimensional DP, right? So so let us define a, so either it will be like it will be starting from any I and j, right? So I'm defining one LIS array, and I am saying that, so the definition of LIS is basically let us say we are talking about alias I, right, for any given arbitrary I, right? So what I'm saying is that alias I says that it will be alias is the alias I basically, right? So alias I is the length of the whatever the question was, right? Longest increasing subsequence, such a way that um, is the length of alias in such a way that, so although I'm going more theoretically, but the moment you will get all the answer, basically all the code, at that moment you will feel like it's a very easy problem. But yeah, just for simplicity, I'm just writing the definitions that this is how you need to approach a hard problem. This is a simple problem, I do agree, but yeah, this is, the approach should be similar like this. Alias is the length of the alias in such a way that I is the last, not I actually, array I basically, right, or ith element. Ith element is the last element of the alias, last element of, yep, exactly. So Ganesh is missing, that is the most, so that is what I was stressing from the first day of DP, right, that we need to think like this, right? We need to figure it out what dimension it is, and then we need to form the like we need to solve it for a sub problem, and then we need to link it to the actual problem, and this way you will be able to write the recursive expression. But this problem is very, very simple, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going in depth actually. So I have defined alias array in such a way that alias is the length of the alias in such a way that its ith element in such a way that ith element of array basically, right, of array, given array, I mean, of array is the last element of the alias, right? So that means that basically what you were saying, that alias I will give the value, will be the length of the alias basically in such a way that ith index, so this is the index basically, ith index will be the last element of the alias basically. So what does it mean? That means that so for example, we are having 8 elements in this array, right? Now try to think in terms of, let us say we are not having 8 elements, we are having only 2, let us say we are having only 4 elements, right? So what I am trying to say is that, and let us say I, the value of I is pointing to 100 basically, and we are only having 4 elements. Let me let me highlight it, the only 4 elements. So suppose that we are having only 4 elements, and alias I gives a length of the alias in such a way that 100th ith element, let us say I points to 100th element will be picked basically, and this is the last element, right? So alias I basically says that alias I basically gives a value, gives the length of the alias basically in such a way that I is the index which is pointing to the last element of the array in that particular alias, right? So array, let us say now, let us say array is like 6 element. So what I mean to say is that if the I is pointing to 5, 6, 7, that means that whatever alias may be, but it will be ending to 5, 6, 7. Are you getting my point? What I'm just repeating this. This sentence is very, very clear. Listen carefully. What I'm trying to say is that, let us say we are having 6 element in the array, right? So what I'm trying to say is that whatever may be alias, I don't care about that. Alias I will be alias I, whatever may be the alias, we don't care about the alias, but the ith element points to, let us say whatever value it points to, let us say it points to 5, 6, 7. So that means that alias ends to 5, 6, 7. So ith index is giving that, okay, that value is pointing to the last element of the alias, that is for sure. So this is the definition. I'm just repeating once again. मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि alias I में I का alias का वैल्यू कुछ भी हो, मतलब सबसीक्वेंस का वैल्यू कुछ भी सबसीक्वेंस हो, I जो जिस भी एलिमेंट को पॉइंट करेगा वो alias का लास्ट वैल्यू होगा, मतलब लास्ट एलिमेंट होगा alias का, राइट? I जो है alias के लास्ट एलिमेंट को पॉइंट करता होगा, ये alias like alias I का मीनिंग हुआ, और alias I का वैल्यू जो है वो साइज देगा बेसिकली, राइट? So alias, the value of alias I will be giving size, but I is the element which will be the last element of the alias. So this is the definition. For those of you who are still in doubt, it will be clear. Just be with me. Yeah. So that is the definition of, I just declared one alias basically. So I'm just giving the gist why people think like that and why we should think like that. We are just trying to find out the sub problem for this problem. So sub problem for this problem will be what? For example, if this is having 8 elements, the sub problem will be that, okay, let's solve it for 2 elements, 3 elements, and let's see that if we have solved up to 3 elements, then what will be the answer for 4th element? Now think in that way. Actually, I'm just focusing on the thinking part basically. So what I'm trying to say is that why people, so someone is posting that that means it can't be the last minus 1th element. No, it can be, it can be, of course it can be, but whatever it may be, if it is pointing to, if it is last minus 1th element, so that means that the let us say in LIS 5 elements are coming, so the 5th element is the last minus 1. Are you getting my point? What I'm saying, I'm saying that the last element of the LIS will be at ith index. That is what I'm saying. So now so what I was telling to you, please listen to me carefully. What I was telling to you, so since this particular question is having 8 elements, right? So I'm trying to figure it out a sub problem. So sub problem will be what? In one context, sub problem will be that let's solve it for 6 elements, right? मतलब ऐसे भी कोई क्वेश्चन आता है तो क्या करते हैं हम लोग, n is equals to 1 के लिए सॉल्व करते हैं, 2 के लिए सॉल्व करते हैं, ऐसे ही करते हैं ना. So whatever question we may get, what we try to do if we are not getting the question, actually we try to solve it for n is equals to 1, 2 and 3, and then we reach up to n is equals to whatever the value is, right? So in that way only, what I'm trying to say is that if no matter how much n it is, like no matter how many elements are there in the array, you try to solve it for lesser number of elements basically. Let us solve it for 6 elements. If you're, or let us solve it for 7 elements, right? So let us solve it for 7 elements. So this solving this question for 7 elements becomes the what? Becomes the sub problem, right? And now you see the magic. If you know the answer of the this question, basically, if you know the answer of this question, right? If you know the answer of this question, which question? Sub problem I'm saying, like you know the answer of 7 elements, you know the answer of the question of this array consisting of 7 elements, then you can easily solve it for 8 elements basically. Why? How come? Let's see. If you have already solved it for 7 elements, then you are left with only 1 element in the end, right? So either it will be included in the LIS, or it will, or what can be the thing? Either it will be included or it will not be included, right? When it will be included, suppose that the solution of this problem, like the solution of the problem which is having 7 elements only, we are not talking about the actual problem which is having 8 elements, right? I'm just highlighting the 7 elements. If we have already solved the question for 7 elements, and whatever may be the LIS, we just need to decide whether 8 elements can be included or not. If it can be included, then whether it will be like kind of you can say that whether it is profitable to include it or not, right? So that becomes a little easier to solve basically, right? If you have already solved it for 7 elements, then we just need to decide whether we need to include 8th element or not. And how we can decide it? Actually, we will just check all the numbers which are less than kind of, you know what, one more thing, if you have already solved for 7 elements, that means that you have already for 6, 5, you have already solved the problem, sub problem for 1 element, 2 element, 3 element, 4 element, 5 element, 6 element and 7 element, right? So what you'll do to decide that whether the last element will be included or not is that you will just iterate through all the sub problems answer. Let us say you solved it for element is equals to like you solved it for first element only, right? So you'll just see that, okay, whatever answer may be till first element, whether this answer and plus including the last answer, I mean like when this when the LI size will be increasing, right? When elements will be included, right? If you are excluding element, then the answer will not change, right? Because you're excluding the element. The moment you are including, you are trying to include a particular element, that moment answer will become +1, isn't it? Because we are kind of having, like, we want to know the longest subsequence, right? So what I'm trying to say is that you can just reach up to the you just can go to the sub problem which is having only 1 element, and then you can see that whether I can include the last element or not, and what is the answer. And now you, let us say the answer is A1, let us say, right? And then you can reach up to the sub problem 2 basically, which is consisting of the 2 elements, and you can check that, okay, whether in the sub problem 2 I can include the last element or not. If I can include, then let us say answer is A2, right? And then in the same way you can just go to the sub problem 3. So sub problem 3 means that in sub problem including first, second and third element, what is the answer? Whatever may be the answer, you just try to see that, okay, last element can be included or not. If it can be included, then A3 is the answer, let us say, for sub problem 3. And then in this way you will keep on going till 7th element, 7th element, 7th element. And then you can see that, okay, whatever is the answer of sub problem 7 basically, whether the last element can be included in that solution or not. If it can be included, let us say the answer is A7, and you can just take the maximum for all the A1, A2, A3, A4, and A7. Is this clear to all of you? Is this clear to all of you? No? Should I repeat it once again? Okay, it was clear to 1, it was clear to 2, 3, 4. What about other? Okay, thanks for mentioning no. Okay, so what I'm trying to mention, listen it carefully. I'm just like concluding now. I'm just saying that since we are having a problem of 8 elements, right? But we do not know the exact answer of 8 elements. So what I told to you guys that please try to think that what would be the sub problem basically. So sub problem in this case, what it can be? It can be, okay, let me solve it for, we do not know what is the answer of 8 elements. We do not know that what is the answer if we are considering all the 8 elements, right? We are having 8 elements. You see, I have highlighted all the elements, all the 8 elements, right? So what I'm trying to say is that let's try to solve the sub problem for 7 elements, right? This will be, I mean, this is a common sense that you can say that, okay, solving for 7 elements will be sub problem, right? Because it is a sub thing, right? So this was sub problem. Is it clear? I'm just going line by line. So I'm considering a sub problem which consists of only 7 elements, although in the array 8 elements are there. Is it clear? Okay. So now, so I'm saying that if you are able to somehow, don't think about how, right? I'm just saying that somehow if you are able to solve the sub problem for 7 elements, right? So that means that you are able to solve for all the problems, right? Because let us say you are able to solve sub problem 1, sub problem 2. So sub problem 1 means that consisting only one element, sub problem 2 that consisting up to second element, sub problem 3 that consisting up to third element, and like that, sub problem 4, sub problem 5, sub problem 6, sub problem 7. So that means that you are able to solve for all the initial sub problems, right? Now what I'm saying that how 8 elements will decide the final answer. So that thing actually I'm trying to relate it actually to the solution of 7 problems, right? To the solution of first initial 7 problems. So what I'm trying to say is that if it cannot be included, then there will be no answer. Then there will be no increment in the actual answer, right? In the final answer. But if it can be included, then so for example, let us say, I'm just taking for example, let us say the answer for the sub problem 7 is, let us say 10, right? So now the final answer will either be 10 or 11, right? Because if it is already final, if 6, 7, 8, 6, if the last element is not taken, then the answer will remain 10. If it is taken, then answer will become 11. Is it clear to all of you? I just want to hear one yes in the chat box. Is it clear that if, yeah, so what I'm saying that, yeah, so this much is clear now, that if you're including the last element, then the answer will increase. If you're not including, then the answer will not increase. Now see, when you can include the last element, when you can include the last element, when the previous element will be less than the last element, then only you can include, right? Because it's an increasing subsequence. So you need to figure it out which subsequence in the solution of 1 to 7, in the solution of sub problem 7, is having last element which is having value less than 6 at 7, 6. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? We just need to figure it out which LIS in the sub problem 7 is having value less than last element, which is 6, 8, 7, 6, right? So okay, so this is clear. So this is the reason we have described the LIS value as like the LIS array as this, which I've written on line number 10. अब सब सोच रहे होंगे ना कि हम क्यों, मतलब कि ऐसे कैसे थॉट आ गया कि हम एलाइस एरे मतलब डिक्लेयर करेंगे जिसका ith एलिमेंट जो है वो लास्ट एलिमेंट होगा. तो यहाँ से मतलब कि आपको हिंट मिलेगा बेसिकली, मतलब बैक ट्रैक करने पे आपको हिंट मिलेगा. ठीक है, इतना समझ गए? अब देखो, so what we discussed that we got some problem and we thought that okay, what will be the sub problem? We figure it out. Okay, let me solve it for 7 elements, and if we are able to solve it the 7 element, no, you cannot sort it actually. You cannot sort it. Why you cannot sort it? Because because like if you're sorting it, then all things will be increasing, right? So there is no question of longest increasing subsequence, right? So yeah. So what I told to you till now, what I told to you, if you are, the sub problem is till 7 elements, right? And if you are able to solve for the 7 elements, then you can think that, okay, how can I include the 8th element? If it can be included, then the answer will be final answer, right? If it cannot be, then the answer will remain same. So we need to think about the inclusion of the last element. So when we can include, the moment we say that we can include, that means that the last element will be less than the last element value, right? Because the last element in the existing sub problem 7 answer should be less than 6876, right? So we need to figure it out which LIS basically. So the full form of LIS, you remember that, longest increasing subsequence. So we need to think out which LIS in the sub problem 7 is having the elements which is less than 6876, right? So this forces us to consider all the LIS basically, not the LIS like the highest LIS, all the LIS. Like we need to, it is like kind of forcing us to think about all the sub problems. Because why I'm saying this, you see, here is one trick. You see, it can be possible that the LIS for the sub problem 7, which is consisting of 7 elements, can be that the last element ends with 354, let us say, and the size is 2. And then you say that, okay sir, I will include the last element and it will become, the size will become 3, right? But it may be possible that some LIS which was not ending with 354, which was ending up to 100 only, but you can say that this can also be like the last value for some other sub problem which is less than 7, sub problem 1 2 3 4 5 6 can also like be added, like can also be connected with the last element basically, right? So in that way, it may be possible that the one particular, like we cannot consider only one particular case, right? We need to consider all the sub problems basically 1 to 7, right? So like that. So this was the gist basically, right? So with this much understanding, actually, if you have got this much understanding, you should be able to write the recursive expression. Let me write recursive expression and see that whether it is clear to you guys or not, right? So LIS, so let us say the problem can be defined as LIS, and we need to solve it for 8 elements. Let us say we are solving it currently for I elements, right? And then is equals to 1 plus max of right. So LIS problem is max of LIS, right? And this can be J, right? This can be J basically, right? So this is the thing which I am writing just for simplicity purpose, where 0 is less than J and of course J should be less than I. Is it clear to all of you? Okay, she's missing that on some website it is written as the longest increasing subsequence problem is to find the length of the longest subsequence of a given sequence such that all elements of the subsequence, yeah, exactly. So you see, the I was not able to understand your exact question basically. So what I'm mentioning, that the answer will be sorted, answer should be such in such a way that it should be, the value should be in sorted order, in the sense that whatever may be the answer, it should be in increasing order always. But the problem is in itself, we cannot sort it. Are you getting my point? So for example, you see in this problem, which like for this array, actually this array is not sorted, right? But whatever will be the final answer, whatever will be the final LIS basically, so that LIS will be sorted basically, right? Because the definition of the problem says like that, it should be longest, it should be increasing, and it should be subsequence, right? So it should be increasing, keep on increasing, right? So like that, the solution will be sorted, right? So yeah. So yeah, so I just wrote this expression basically, that our LIS problem for a particular I, let us say that for a particular I means that we need to solve it for 8 elements, right? Because here the values in the given array is 8, right? So I'm saying that LIS problem I is equals to 1 plus, so 1 plus, okay, 1 plus max, and then LIS all the values basically, right? So for all J is less than I is equal to, right? So I is 8, so all the values less than 8, right? So it means that J can be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, right? So 1 to 7, right? So see, I just explained this to you guys, right? Because I said that we will just solve it for 7 basically, for all the 7 basically, like 1 2 3, I mean sub problem 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. and we will just kind of doing like whoever will the maximum value of those things plus 1, right? When will it be plus 1? If it can be like included, right? Isn't it? Is it clear? Okay. And if nothing exists, basically, suppose that there is no j in such a way that and so we need to figure it out, the element which is less than 6876, right? So that was the prominent one, right? So for example, so what I meant to say is that array j should be array I, right? Is it clear, right? Because we want to find out, like we'll be doing all the sub problems basically, like sub problem 1 2 3 4 5, but we also need to make sure that the value should be less than 6876. So for that we have written that so if you want to reach me out, you can just ping me on LinkedIn. Basically you can search Abhilash Rudra on LinkedIn, or you can just Google Abhilash Rudra, ABHILSH RUDRA, right? And then you can message me also if you're having some problem or something like that, right? So and so yeah, so what I explained to you that the length of the size is 7, right? So I was explaining to you that you just need to figure it out for which of the answers basically the value is in such a way that the array j, like whatever ending answer is there for sub problem 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, is the last element is less than 6 7 it's 6 7 sorry 6 8 7 6, right? So therefore this is the reason that we made actually list LIS array actually in this way, that LIS is the length of the LIS in such a way that ith element of the array is the last element, because this particular last element can be compared very easily to this, right? This was related to sub problem basically, and recursive expression. When I'll be writing code basically, and suppose that we are not having any element, so that means that we cannot include the last element, right? So if we are not able to include the last element, what will be the answer? That means that the last element cannot be included, so whatever value was there, it will become 1 basically, right? Because we want to end it to that element only, right? So why the value is 1 basically is because we cannot contain any other element, so that element can be contained only, so it means that their value is very much greater basically. So let me write loop basically, that will make things more clear basically, right? So what I'm trying to say, the code part is very important, very easy basically. Yep, exactly. So the code part is as simple as this. So you can see from this only that it will be a two-dimensional problem basically, right? Because we are having I and j, and I also guessed it from the simple one, right? I told you that whatever will the LI is basically, it will be starting from I and it will be ending from j. It will be ending at j basically, and I and j can be anything, right? In the end basically, so it will be n square basically, right? So from that particular guess also, you can just observe and imagine that it will be like it will be two-dimensional DP, right? And then you just write like simple as we write, right? For example, I is you just follow basically a recursive expression. You do not need to think a lot the moment you have written the like recursive expression correctly. The only thing is that you need to just think about the indexes basically. Sometimes it happens that you miss the some indexes value, and therefore so what will be the base case? So we should always think about the base case. What will be the base case? What will value for 0th element, let us say? So if you're having an array of only one element, the answer will be 1, isn't it? You just include it, right? So that will be kind of longest increasing subsequence, right? So for n is equals to 1, the value will be 1, right? Isn't it? Yep. So this we have already made it as base case. Now define it as int, and then let us of course take j from how much to how much, and then it will be of course go to the I basically. So you see why I'm iterating up to I only, because for example, if we are considering the subsequence still here, that means that we need to figure it out all the elements less than this, right? So therefore we are reaching up to I only. So second loop, j is reaching up to, j is equal to 0 and j is less than I, and then plus plus j, right? Like that. And that's very simple, right? And then you just apply the condition, basically whatever I have mentioned. If array j is less than array I, whatever, right? And then you just mention the other condition. And what? So we need to find the maximum. How we find maximum? So like whenever we need to find the maximum value in a particular array or whatever, what we do, we just keep on replacing, right? We see that, okay, if the current is less than max, sorry, if the current is greater than max, then max per hour current, right? So you all are in third year, right? So this should be very much clear. Yeah, max elemental also you can use, but since we are applying dynamic programming problem, so like what I'm trying to say, that you keep on writing in the for loop, if current is greater than max, then max is equals to current, right? This is the way, like very simple way that we calculate a maximum element in the loop, right? In a 1D loop, right? So like that only, I am just adding one, I just need to add one expression that we are kind of trying to figure it out, the maximum element. So we'll be doing that, and LIS, whatever the definition of LIS is, I is less than LIS, what? Of course j, and then plus 1. Why plus 1? Because we have already checked that array j is less than array I. So that means that j can be included. So whatever the answer was for LISA, we will just check that whether after including this element in the LIS j, basically whether we are getting it something more or not. If we are getting, then the LIS I value will change, right? So LIS I value become LIS j plus 1, right? And like that, right? And you just need to return the maximum of LIS, right? So you just exit this loop, and then you just return. Let me write pseudocode only. So you need to figure out what is the maximum element in the LIS. So in C++, I think max element or something was there, I think already. So whatever, max in the LIS basically, right? LIS, I'm writing pseudocode, right? You can just assume what I mean to say, right? So like that. Any doubt in this very, very basic problem, so that we can discuss the next problem basically. And what will be time complexity? Anyone? Time complexity? No, it will not be n actually. So this is a DP problem, right? And we discussed already, we discussed that it is a two-dimensional DP problem. So the time complexity will be n squared, right? If you are not having like still, if you feel like you need to go through the solution once more or something like that, please go through the solution and basically focus on few parts. Basically, you need to focus on this part, the recursive expression, and then you need to focus on the definition of the LIS basically. So this is more important. If these two parts are clear, then like then the all things will be clear actually. Like there will be no doubt basically, right? These two parts, like recursive expression. Of course we can. So someone is asking that. So just for the dynamic sake problem, we discuss it in this way actually. So there is one more solution. So this solution is n squared. There is one more solution, which is time complexity of n log n basically. So the moment you will post this question in front of interviewer, he will say that, okay, that's very good that you know DP, but can you please optimize it, right? So so there is one more solution basically, and I think that solution is like n log n time complexity, right? So yeah, we obviously we can optimize it basically, but so yeah. Is this clear to everyone? Any question in this particular simple basic problem? If not, we will just jump to another dynamic programming problem. So keep on practicing DP basically. In general, how to optimize the code. So in general, in case of dynamic programming, I'm not talking about the Ganesh question basically. So Ganesh is asking how we can optimize the problem, and I mentioned that we can be solving. It can be solved basically in log n. So that is not the optimized solution in that particular scenario. In this case, do not belong to dynamic programming problem basically. But yeah, in general, since you have asked in general, how do you optimize code? So in general, optimizing a dynamic programming code basically says that if it is possible, somehow you try to decrease the dimension of the problem. And if you are able to successfully decrease the dimension of the problem, then obviously you can decrease the time complexity, right? For example, if the dimension of the problem is 3, let us say three-dimensional problem is there, and the obvious solution, you can write a recursive expression as whatever recursive expression you are writing, and you feel like it is going to be ijk, right? And it is going to be nq. In that sense, you always try to diminish the, so you need to just focus on the recursive expression. It depends on a lot of things actually, that how you are writing a recursive expression. If you not think carefully, you will end up writing a recursive expression which is of 3-dimensional, but someone may write a recursive expression which will be solved in 2-dimensional only. So it all depends on the recursive expression thing, right? So yeah, this is the one of the best approach to optimize the code in case of dynamic programming problem. So next question is that why we return maximum LIS array, right? So the reason why I return maximum of LIS, you see, what was the definition of LIS? So this is why I mentioned that the definition is very important. The definition of the LIS, which is mentioned on the line number 10, basically what I'm writing there is that LIS I indicates what? LIS array indicates that the last, so I element means I there indicates that the last element will be taken basically. Sorry, I mean like the ith element in the array will be taken. So see, if you are not returning the maximum of them, so what you are saying that you return, like whatever your code is 1705825, you see, if you are not returning maximum of LIS, then what will return? You just think. So I believe if you're not thinking to return maximum of LIS, you'll be returning LISN. Is it correct? Is it correct? Yeah. So why LISN value will be giving wrong answer? You see, LISN value, what does it mean according to our definition? So LISN value means that, what is the n value? I mean like 8 value, right? LIS 8. So you'll be returning LIS 8. So what does LIS 8 means that? So 8 means the last element, right? The 8 element is 6876, right? The LIS 8 means that you are always, so in that particular LIS 8 solution, you will be always including the 6876, isn't it? Because here LIS I definition is that I should be the ith element in the array basically, right? And LIS 8 means that you whatever solution you're constructing, you are saying that the solution will be always including the last element, but that's not the case, isn't it? That's not the case. Why? You see, it is not necessary that we need to include the 6876, right? Because it may be possible that did you get my point, or should I write an example to show you that LIS 8 will be giving an answer, but it will be giving answer in such a way that it will always be including 6876. But that may not be the case, right? Because the answer may not be including the last element. It may be that some other value, right? For example, let us take this. Okay, thanks for asking. So let us say that this is 80, right? This is 2, this is 10, then 12, then 24, and then 74, and then 78, and then 84, right? Or let us say that let me just again some other way, 50, and then now you see the final answer for this particular array, what it will be. One answer can also be think at, it will be 13, and then it will be 13, 24, right? 13, 24, because if you are picking 13, then the next element should be more than 13, right? So you need to skip all these three. So you will be picking 24, 13, 24, then 74, 78. You cannot pick 50, right? So this is one of the answer, right? Isn't it? And let me go for more actually. Oh, sorry. I think it should be clear to you by now. So what I'm trying to say is that if you are including 13, right? So these elements will be like skipped, right? You have to pick something greater than 13. So it will be picking 24. So 13, 24, 2 element, so 74, 3 element, 78, 4 element, 100, 5 element, 5 element to 100, और 120 6 एलिमेंट, राइट? 6 एलिमेंट हुआ आपके आंसर में, सो यू आर गेटिंग 6 एलिमेंट्स इन द array, so answer will be 6 basically, right? If you are including 13. Now you see, if you are not including 13, what will be the answer? 2 is there, then 10, 12, 24, 74, 78, 120. How many values? 1 2 3. What is the size? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. You see, you are getting 8 elements, but the moment you say that you are getting 8 elements, you will not be able to pick the 50th element, right? Because 50th element you cannot pick, because the moment you are picking 120, you cannot go something less than 120. So it may be possible that the answer will not be containing the last element, right? So therefore we are not including LIS n. So we are not saying that the LIS n is the answer. We are saying that maximum of LIS 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 is the answer. Did you get it? Or should I repeat? The one who has asked the question, 17 whatever, 17 your ID 1705. Did you get it? Why LIS it cannot be answered? Please post in the chat box. Can you hear me? Okay, seems like okay. Yeah, so this is the reason that LIS, so all of you should be clear, if LIS n is not the answer, why the maximum of all the LIS is answered? Because it may be possible that that end element is not included, right? So this is how we start thinking about a problem basically, right? I'll discuss another problem which is a little bit more interesting, but this is also a simple problem only, but yeah, it is more interesting. Longest common subsequence, but it is very standard problem, and this is having a lot of kind of, you can say the applications will be more actually. So longest common what we call subsequence is used actually in like bioinformatics. When we try to compare the DNA basically of two people, like two DNAs, we want to say that, okay, how much percentage is matching, right? Or how much they are similar basically, like so that we can decide that, okay, these two people are kind of having similar DNA or matching DNA or kind of like that, right? So LIS will be used in real life. Yeah, you just think for a minute where it can be used, LIS. So the moment in the interview, if someone is asking to you that, okay, sir, where LIS will be used, how to think for this particular question, although you should be knowing the answer previously, like for LCS, I know the answer, right? So LIS, if you do not know the answer, you just try to think that what is the property of LIS basically, right? Like where LIS, like what is the property? Property is that it should be always increasing subsequence. So think by yourself only that where we kind of use actually LIS problem, LIS basically. Any guess? Then I will, okay, let me think also. So LIS means that longest increasing subsequence, right? Okay. You see, Arjun thought something. Like we can say when the sales are going up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just editing a little bit in Arjun's answer. So see, if you are having end price, or if you're having the sell all the items sold on a particular day, and the amount is, let us 600, and the next day the amount sold was something, and then the something, right? And then some array is forming, right, in the data set, right? And you want to observe a statistics in such a way that, okay, like I'm just trying to incorporate the factor increasing basically, right? That, yeah, you may think something like that, right? That from what day the you can say like longest increasing subsequence. May like calculating population. But how increasing, like, what is my problem? How LIS, the definition of LIS will be like exact thought. Number of users. I thought about number of users. Number of users should be increasing. This is one of the way I'm thinking. So you see, if you're having a lot of arrays, right? If you're having 10 arrays, right? And 10 things denote 10 SOPs, or something like 10 random samples in the computation geometry basically, or you can say not computation geometry, in the probability. For example, if you're having 10 random sets, right, and we want to see, so these 10 random sets are kind of shopping statistics of 10 shops, let us, in a market, and we want to see that, okay, in all the 10 markets basically, I'm kind of increasing the dimension of this problem, like we will be having 10 array basically, right, and we need to figure it out for which array the answer will be the largest. So you can think in that terms basically, that for a we will just figure it out, okay, this shop is having more, this shop is having the LIS number has the highest, so that means that he's he's being more consistent basically rather than the other shops, and like that, right? So yeah, exactly, I was also trying to relate in that sense only, like a stock value basically. So you can say that, okay, this particular stock is having more number of LI, so that means that this stock seems to be more consistent actually. For example, so nowadays Nifty, you can see the current Nifty value will be kind of 8,000 or something, right? But if you want to see that, okay, for which days basically, or which stock basically is kind of keep on increasing, and it was kind of highest, it was not like, so you see, the more longest value will become, it means that in the graph actually it will be kind of increasing graph, right? And the value will be, if the LIS value for some stock is less, that means that the graph is like this. Let me show you only. So what I'm trying to say is that the graph will be like this, and then, sorry, then this, and then this, like this, right? But if someone is having high value, longest value of LIS, then the graph will be like that, right? Because it will keep on increasing, so it will go on like this. Are you getting my point? So it will keep on increasing. So that shows that, okay, if LIS is more, then it means that there is a good number of probability that it will increase in the future also, right? So like that we can think in that term. You can say, I mean, like, you can construct something like this thought in front of the interviewer. He'll become happy if you're not knowing the answer basically of the exact question, right? So yeah, so let me discuss one problem, LCS problem basically. So LCS problem is also very simple basically only, but it is more standard, like many people ask LCS problem as a starting question in the interview for DP problems, right? So LCS problem is longest comma subsequence. You should always think about the subsequence and substring. You should not be confused basically. So whenever we talk about the strings basically, we talk about the substring basically, right? But it may be possible that someone is asking question about the subsequence in terms of a string question only, right? So you should be very, very careful what the interviewer is asking, rather than directly jumping on the solution part. So yeah, so LCS is something like, you can say that, longest common subsequence. So longest common, right? So longest, you already know. Common means that two things are there, right? Then we talk about the common thing, right? Two factors are there, so we talk about, okay, two expression, what are the common things basically, right? So that already is giving hint that we are having two subsequences or two arrays basically, right? So let me, two arrays, simple arrays, whatever, right? And then the second array will be, so these all will be kind of whatever you can consider basically two string or whatever. So this is the first string for me, and this is the, let us say, AJG, right? So for example, so yeah, so Ganesh seems like copied from somewhere, poster or whatever, right? So yeah, looks like you have written correct recursive expression. If AI is equals to BI, then yeah, exactly, max of, yeah, exactly. So this is a very fundamental dynamic programming, but again, the tabular things will be coming, so therefore I want to discuss it once more actually, right? So we need to draw the table basically. So you see, let me post Ganesh solution, see that it is correct or not, right? So I'm just copying this expression from um, uh, okay, right? So yeah, so let us see how to approach this problem and how to reach this particular recursive solution actually, right? So for example, if you're having two strings, let us say these two are a string. So can you please check the answer? Like one string is a, b, h, j, g, g, right? And the other string is g whatever like that, right? And the so what can be the maximum size of the LCS? LCS means longest common subsequence. Can you please tell what can be the maximum size? Like it cannot be more than that. Anyone? What can be the maximum LCS value for two string? The maximum value can be 6, right? Because I mean, like, without looking at the string also you can say that minimum size of the two strings, right? Because whatever the minimum size is there, like for example, if the first string is 6 and the second string is 10 elements, then the whatever may be, best case will be that what all the 6 elements of the first string is matching with the second one, right? So that will be maximum. So it will be kind of minimum. It cannot go more than that actually, right? So yeah, exactly. So it will be less than the less among the two basically, right? So you see, this is the problem we are having right now, right? So what I told you in the last one, I told that try to think what will the sub problem for this question. So what will the sub problem? In that particular scenario, previous question only it was one dimensional, so I just mentioned that okay, you just reduce the n value. Like if it is for n is equals to 8, we will try to solve it for n is equals to 7, and then we'll think that whether we can accomplish n is equals to 8 or not with the help of n is equals to 7, right? So in that way, can someone please write, it cannot be copied from somewhere. What I'm asking that like what would be the sub problem in this particular case? It is a two-dimensional problem. Is it clear for all of you now till now? Yeah, it should be clear. Why? Because we need to think about the every index on all the two strings basically, right? So if the first string is having a size of m and the second string is having the size of n, so it will go up to m into n basically, right? It will be two-dimensional basically, right? Because we have to consider every index of both the string basically. So it will be a two-dimensional. So what will be the sub problem? So by looking at the question, you cannot directly define the sub problem that okay, the sub problem will be n minus 1 or something like that, right? So in the situation when you are not able to define the sub problems, so you just try to go by the naive approach. So naive approach will be what? Naive approach will be you consider first index of this string and the first string of this string, and then you try to figure it out, and then you just keep on increasing one index. Okay, this one, this. Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to say? Let me repeat it once again. So what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that you just try to solve it. Let us say I will always stand for the index of first string, right? And j will always stand for the index of the second string, right? Just wait. Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that I will always indicate about the index of the first string, and the j will always indicate about the index of the second string. What I'm trying to say is that try to solve this question for I is equals to 1 and j is equals to 1, right? So for I is equals to 1, so this is how you need to think actually in case of dynamic programming. Like sub problem, I is equals to 1 and j is equals to 1, what will be the answer? Anyone please tell? Please. This is very simple what I'm asking. What is answer? What is answer? I want to know answer, not your statements. What is the answer for I is equals to 1 and j is equals to 1? You all are giving me techniques. I'm asking what is the exact answer? Base case. Base case. you need to solve for base case, right? Anyway, so you have to write what will be the solution. You have to think it. What will be the answer if you're considering only the first character and first character of both the strings basically? No, what will be the answer? No one? It's amazing. So what will be the answer for the question if you're solving it for one subproblem where I is equals to 1 and j is equals to 1, right? So you are given two strings where one string is one. Let me tell you what. Again, you are telling me something else. I'm telling that what will be the answer if you are giving a subproblem, or if you have been given a problem where first string is consisting of a only and the second string is consisting of d only, right? That is what I and j, right? I is equals to 0, sorry. Let me write it or more express. I is equals to 0 and j is equals to 0. Now tell what will the answer if we are having two string. Yeah, exactly. This is why I wanted to hear from you all guys. So Subhang has mentioned correctly, and then Sasi also. The answer will be 0, right? Now I will come to a point that why it is 0, right? Because it is not matching, right? This is the reason it is 0, right? Yeah. So since it is not matching, therefore it is 0. So that is giving you hint that there will be condition of something like this. If let us say first string is a, I is not equal to bj is a second string basically, right? Then we need to so you see, if this string is not matching, that means that the whatever answer we have reached till now from using the previous characters basically or previous indexes, that will be the final answer, is it not, right? So so you see, either if this string is not matching, then that means that both the strings cannot be included in the LCS, is it not? This thing is very clear. If AI is not matching with BJ, so that means that both the strings cannot be part of the like both the strings are different. So that means that the LIS will be consisting of either A or G, right? Is it okay what I'm saying? I'm saying that, so LCS, sorry, not LIS, LCS. So I'm saying that if these two strings, if those two characters are not matching, then that means that whatever will be the answer, LCS, whatever the actual LCS final answer, it will be either ending with A or it will be either ending with G, right? So we just need to consider all basically. So if you are ending with A, that means that you are not including G, then what will be the answer? Then the answer will be what? LCS. And then if you are including A, I mean, if you are including the only the A basically, right? So it will be, so since you are including it, so it will be, let us the size of the first string, or okay, we are talking about ith one, right? So if we are including A basically, so this means that we are including I, right? Is that not? So we are including I, and then we are excluding J. We are excluding J. So excluding J means that we need to consider T by J minus 1, right? So this will be the one. Is it clear? Is it clear what I'm trying to say? If we are including A basically, so which A I'm telling this A. If we, first, I mean I barabar 0. So if you are including on line number 31, please see. If we are including this one, and so the problem sub problem is here what? We are having two strings. Let me write it on there. If we are have, let me so the one string is consist of A and the second string is consist of G. So this is the sub problem we are having, right? And I'm saying that since in this particular sub problem, if we are not able to, like A is not equal to G, then that means that you need to either consider A or consider G, right? Both cannot be considered because they are not common, right? So if you are considering A, so that means that you have used till ith index, because this is the ith index. So I have included, and you have excluded G. So I've included J minus 1, right? Is it clear? Okay, yeah. So if you are now, if you are doing the reverse, I mean that if you are excluding A but you are including G, so that means that the answer will be whatever LCS will be there, the answer will be till here. I mean you are excluding A, so it will be I minus 1, and you are including G, so it will be J basically, right? And then of course, since this can be two possibilities basically, so we need to check that which possibility is the better one. So for checking the better one, we need to find the longest. So we'll be doing the max one, right? Max, right? Is it clear? So you see, just after looking at the subprogram only, we were able to write one recursive expression, right? And like one now, right? Just by looking at the simple subproblem, like let me try to solve it for I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 0. By looking at this subproblem only, I was able to write this much like recursive expression correctly, right? Now you see, so you got it. If ai is not equal to bj, right? Now you think, what if ai is equals to bj? So you try to figure it out, someone where ai is equals to bj, right? So let us say we are considering till here. J, G, A, J, G, right? So A, J, G, sorry, A, B, H, J, G, G, right? So this is, let us say, first substring, and the second substring is completely I'm writing. I'm just taking part of this main problem basically. G, J, H, G, H, J, A, G, H, J, and yeah, let me take it till here only, right? Yeah. So okay, I'm taking full part actually. So I'm taking as a sub problem. I'm just trying to figure it out which two characters are equal so that I can just consider that case and think in that sense basically, right? So I'm taking full part of a first substring and full part of second substring. You see, the last index, I'm talking about the last index. The last index of each and every, like both the strings basically are equal, right? So in that particular case, if the both strings are equal, so that means that anyway you are going to include that index, is it not? So if you're going to include the index, so that means that what will they lies? So since you are going to include this g for sure, right? This may be the part, right? So this means that the answer will be one plus one will be added, right? Because we are including, we got something which is equal, so therefore we are going to include it for sure. And then what will be the answer? You'll just remove this part, because from every indexes, from every like LCS, from both the indexes basically, for both the dimension basically, what I mean to say is that, right? So that will be kind of LCS I minus 1 and then j minus 1. Is it clear to every one of you? Yeah, most of you have already mentioned. Yeah, exactly. So you see, you have written the like you have written the recursive expression correctly, right? And if you want to code it, you can just like code it as simple as this only, as I have written, right? So you can just go and code it basically, right? So what will the code actually? So this is a two-dimensional problem for sure, right? So you'll be running a for loop basically from I to j, right? From this will be the I actually, from 0 to whatever the size of the first string, that's m size. So this will be running for I to m, right? And then the second loop will be there, which will be j loop basically, and will be running for the size of the second string, right? For, let us say, for j, right? And then yeah, and then of course in the same way we'll be just checking that we'll be just writing if else condition inside it here actually. And then before that only we can just describe the base cases basically, right? So what will the base cases? You can think in terms, you can write base cases comma 0, and like that, like 0, 1. So for these things you can make the base case, right? So what will be 0, 0? If it is equal, then it will be 1, right? If it is not equal, then it will be 0. So either 1 will be value or 0 will be the answer, right? So like that you have to write the base case, and then and then you will be just writing the if condition basically, whatever I mentioned. If ai is equal to, if ai is not equal to bj, then you have to write answer is equal to this much, and otherwise answer is equal to 1 plus LCS. And the answer you can store it, answer can be made actually two-dimensional, right? Because it's two-dimensional problem. So answer, it will be I and j. So this will be calculation of dp array basically. So this ans we always keep it as dp array, right? So dp ij, like that. You need to practice basically a lot about this actually. The more you practice now, the more you'll feel good. Yeah, like that, right? And then and in the end, basically, what will the answer now? You see, what will the answer? So the answer will be dpmn, right? Isn't it? Dpmn, the last index, like including all the elements of all the indexes of first string and then all the indexes of second string. So dpmn will be the answer, right? Is it clear to all of you? I just want that like whoever is attending my session, this would be very strong in dynamic programming, at least in their life, like at least dynamic programming, because I feel like this is the gist of the all programming basically. Other programming practices, other programming problems you can practice, but DP you really have to practice a lot actually. Otherwise, you'll not be able to solve if you are getting some new problem. You're not able to think basically in the terms of recursive subexpression. We discussed, I think, subset problem. I'm remembering subset problem we have discussed in a very nice way basically, right? So subset problem is a famous dynamic programming problem, and like yeah. Let me discuss one more problem we can discuss. So you have to do the same thing. You have to keep on solving different DP questions without looking at the solution. We can go for one more. Let us say, let me increase the dimension of this question. I'm just focusing on the dimension because so someone asked question, how many dimensions can we take? And what would, yeah, good question. So therefore I was taking the dimension. The next question was same question of increased dimension basically. So it all depends on Krishna. It all depends on basically what are the input size basically, right? So for example, if you are having two strings and first string the size is m, let us say, and the second string size is n, and then the value of m and n is, let us say, 10 to the power 3, like m can go up to 10,000, sorry, 10 to the power 3 means 1000, right? And the value of n can go up to 1000, right? So you see, you need to make the array which is two dimensional, so it will be kind of 10 to the power 3 into 10 to the power 3. So the array will be of size 10 to the power 6, which is kind of 1 million, right? But in the C++ or even not in Python, but C++, I'm talking about C++, you can make array of 10 to the power 6. So this is all fine, right? But you can make array of 10 to the power 7 also. This is also fine. But the moment you will increase from 10 to the power 6 or 7, it will give you stack overflow or memory issue or something like that, right? Because you cannot make like that much huge size array basically in one function. So one technique is that, can anyone post? I've already mentioned in my previous session. What is the technique here? By increasing at least up to, like, somehow declaring 10 to the power 7 or 10 to the power 8 array even in the C++ program. There is a way actually. Anyone? No one? Seconds, just please post in the chat box what is the way that we can declare 10 to the power 9 size. In a simple, if you declare, it will not work. No one? Okay. So in the C++, actually, you can use the global concept basically. So if you do not, so int main is also a function. Is it not? Int main is also a function. So you try to declare it globally basically. If you declare a variable globally, then you can, like, you'll be allocated more space basically. So you can go a little further basically, right? That is one thing. Yeah. No, vector, like, but with vector we do not mention size, right? So even if so even if you declare vector also, the moment you cross the, try to, like, you declare vector locally basically, I mean inside the int main or inside a particular function, then also the moment you try to cross the size of the vector now, like the size of the vector as more than 10%, it will become crashing, like the program will be problematic basically. So if you declare some variable as a global variable, so then it can be possible basically to go a little more further. But you know what, the base software programming practices in corporate programming, I mean, like base software programming practice, that you should not try to declare a global variable basically. Why? Because you see, now you are thinking in terms of only 50 lines of code, 100 lines of code, 200 lines of code. But you know, when you'll be developing software, basically, you'll be writing thousands and thousands of code, 10,000 code, right? A lot of functions will be there, common functions, common classes, right? So then it may be problematic if you have declared a global variable and you forgot in some class that you have declared a global variable at some other point of time. Then you can be like using the same variable name for some other function also, and it can be very, very confusing basically. So this is not considered a good programming practices. But who cares about the good programming practices in competitive programming? Is it not? Nobody cares about the good programming practices in competitive programming, because most of them do not know, and the people who know also think that, okay, who cares, right? Because nobody is going to judge me on my like on my programming practices. Everyone is going to judge me solution, time complexity, basically, that whether your like tick mark is there or not, green tick mark is there or not, whether the solution is correct or not in given time complexity or given time complexity, right? So yeah, so therefore also you remember, like people, even if you even if you need 1,000 size array also, I have seen that people, even the best programmer of the India, even he used to do, I mean, like Lalit Kundu was there, I think, in my time. He was from Triple IT Hyderabad, Triple IT Hyderabad guy. So he represented India in Coding Olympiad in Russia, I think, at that time, China, I think. So he also, even if you need 1,000 size array, he'll be using 10,000, 1 lakh, like that, right? Because nobody cares that who is going to talk about the memory and all. Only thing is that your solution should be correct, right? So like that. So yeah, they have their, yeah, exactly. So they have their default code. Yep, true. So I was also having mine. So you know what competitive programmers do? So the more you'll become experienced in case of competitive programming, uh, the more people will like for example, if I'm solving DFS problem or BFS problem, I solved it once, right? Again tomorrow, if I'm appearing in some programming competition, in competitive programming competition, I'm not going to write all those codes from scratch, right? Who cares, right? So what I will do is that I will copy it and I will post in some location in my computer. And the moment I will see that, okay, this is a problem of BFS, I'll just paste it, right? Paste it and edit it according to that question. And since that particular code, I'm using it from many days, many months basically, or many years basically, so I am exactly sure that what particular each keyword and what particular indexes mean in that particular solution, in that particular, I mean, my code, right? And then I can twist actually indexes and all according to the given question. So I just need to understand the question, I do not need to write the code and all. So this is how, say, competitive programmers used to solve a question very quickly actually on competitive programming websites basically. So they are having like ready-made code written already for every DP, for every complex algorithm basically. You see, there is a famous union find data structure, right? So the moment I'll see that, for my case I'm talking, the moment I will see that the problem is about the union find data structure, the moment I'll just paste the functions, and you know what, we'll be writing modularized, so all the operations will be now written in the functions basically, in the different functions. And function is independent of the actual code, right? Is it not? Like, so suppose that if there is a 50 line code, 50 line function, I'll just paste the function and I know that, okay, what parameters I do need to pass in that function, right? So I'll just pass it the parameters in that function, that parameter, and that function will solve the problem. And I do not need to change even a single line in the function, or maybe I may need to change actually depending on the question. But yeah, this is this is how yeah, this is how the things work in competitive programming. So union find data structure, or some famous algorithm, some string algorithms are there, or for example BFS, DFS, or DP problems generally no, because because you know what, in DP we do not need to write a lot of code basically, we just need to concentrate on the recursive like expression basically. The moment you write recursive expression correctly, you do not need to write a lot of code actually, right? Because very few lines of code only you'll be able to solve the problem. You see this LCS problem, LIS problem, how many lines of code I've written? Very few, line number 4, right? But in the case of, let us, segment tree, for example, we discussed segment tree, I think, in last session or last session. So you see in the segment tree session, segment tree code, there was few functions, right? So those all functions will be already written actually in my computer, and I'll be just posting the solutions on the website and just editing the function if necessary, right? So therefore the problem solver on competitive program website knows this. So what he does, he will he will not post even a single question, or even at least middle level question. Easy question may be copied actually. He will not solve, he will not create a problem which will be having, which can be solved by exactly posting that kind of functional basically. He will just twist it. For example, I'm giving example of 2015 long challenge problem CodeSafe basically. So in CodeSafe long challenge, there will be 10 problems and 10 days, right? So 10 days problem, 10 problems in 10 days. So one problem was of segmentary, I remember, right? And that segmentary problem was having, so you remember, if some of you were present in my session, or some of you if know segmentary, in segmentary, I solved it for summation, right? If you want to solve a range query, like for example, if you're given an array of 100 elements, and if you want to try to figure it out, okay, what is the sum of second element to 98 element, and then third element to 76 element, or something like that, right? So we consider a element value as 0, like summation of anything plus 0 is that number only, right? So 0 is like kind of, even if you by mistake also, if you are summing 0 somewhere, then also it will not impact the actual answer. Is it not? Like what I'm saying is that even if you like adding 0 everywhere, then also the exact answer will not be get impacted, because 0 addition is like nothing, right? But in that question, the problem solver, I remember exactly 5 years before, the problem solver deliberately he deliberately twisted that segmentary problem in such a way that in the already written code of competitive programmers, we were treating 0 as nothing. But for that problem actually, so for that problem 0 was having meaning. Like if you will try to like add 0, basically he was I think in the question he was asking some number of nodes or something like that. So 0 is also a value, is it not? So in that sense actually, the already written competitive programmers function was not working. And then I thoroughly reviewed the code, and then I figured it out. Like the actual functions will not work basically, right? So who can do this? Who is exactly well versed with the dynamic programming, like who is well versed with that data structure segmentary, like the one who has just copied paste from Google or something, and he do not know the gist of the question, gist of that particular data structure, he will not be able to solve it. And it will take time basically. It will not be in one go. For one go it will become wrong only, because nobody observed that one. And in 7 question, it was the 7th or 8th problem, I think. And 90% of the people, like only 5 to 10%, not 10% also, only 5% I think people will be able to solve problem of more than 8 actually. Like those people who are solving out of 10 problems, those who are solving 8 or 9 or 10, they are like 2% or 3% people in the whole of our world basically. So you see, this was the 7th or 8th problem, I think, 8th problem. So one problem is like a little bit different basically. So like that, right? So the moments whoever people will solve this question, they will become 8 problem solver. So 8 problem solver means that they will come inside the 1000 rank or even 500 rank basically. In India they will be in 200 or 100 rank. So I think I was one of them in 2015, I think. So this is a question of January or March long challenge 2015, I remember. So like that. So you should be very, very careful actually that you should be very, very careful that whether when you're copying pasting from some Google or whatever written code, it may be possible that it will not be working, is it not? So like that, you should be careful actually. So yeah, so from where this all started, yeah, we started it from that nobody cares about the good programming practices. So yeah, I was telling that you can just globally declare it. Yeah, so this was initiated from the question that so how many dimension can we take? So for example, if you'll keep increasing the dimension until the moment you do not cross 10^7 or 10^8 size, then it is all okay. But the gist is not like, of course after 10^8 you cannot create the array, you cannot create an array of that much size. But you see, in 1 second, the main problem lies in the time complexity, right? Not in the size complexity, because size complexity anyway somehow you can manage if you are able to pass the time complexity. The main problem solver points on time complexity in algorithmic coding or competitive program basically, or even in interview also. So time complexity will become much actually if you are having more number of dimensions basically in a problem, in a solution basically. So you always try to decrease the number of dimensions basically, and you should be able to figure it out whether your solution is going to work or not before coding only, is it not? Because the moment you see the problem, you will also see the what is the input constraint basically, and what is the time allowed basically. So this is the main part. So I was telling in the first session that I was telling in the first session that that in 1 second your computer can solve approximately 10 to the power 7. Ideally, it can solve 10 to the power 8 or 9 also. But you know what? In one expression, we write a lot of expression. For example, you see, if you are writing if this condition is true, or this condition is true, or this like that, right? So this is not one expression. If you talk about the computer architecture, you'll think that even one expression can become many expressions basically, right? Because in one cycle, CPU is not able to pass all the instructions basically, right? So it will kind of split it for better, better ease basically, right? So it will split it. So one expression can become more number of instructions, right? Additionally, you see, the moment you calculate time complexity, you just think about how many times this for loop is running. For example, if this 2 for loops are running for 10 to the power 8, then you think that 10 to the power 8 expression, but that is not the case. Why? Because you see, you write a lot of lines in between the for loop also. For example, if you're writing 10 lines in between the for loop, inside the for loop, so if the for loop is running for 10 to the power 7, so 10 to the power 7 into 10, right? So it will become 10 to the power 8 basically, right? So a factor of 10 or 100, you should be like, are you getting now what I'm trying to say? Like, yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that your computer might execute 10 to the power 9 instructions in 1 second, but you should think that it will execute 10 to the power 7 only. This is what the competitive programmers do, that 10 to the power 7 approximately. This is what I used to do in my competitive code in those days basically. That I used to think, okay, my computer will running 10 to the power 7. So the time complexity is more than becoming 10 to the power 7 times or something like that, then I'll be alert that this cannot be solved in 1 second. So I will see to the constraint basically. If the constraint is saying that, okay, 2 seconds are allowed, then it means that how much? 2 into 10 to the power 7 is allowed, right? It will not be 10 to the power 8 or something. So if the given time is 2 seconds, so that means that your code, your number of instructions should not be 2 into 10 to the power 7 instructions. If it is more than that, then it means that you will not be able to solve the problem in given time complexity, right? In the given time, basically 2 seconds. So you should be careful. If your time complexity is crossing than that, then it means that your solution is not the optimized solution. Then from that point only, without coding the solution, from that point only, you should try to think about the optimized solution, right? If the optimized solution is like coming less than 10 to the power 7 instructions, then it means that, yeah, this can be solved in 1 second. But sometimes they say that if you are having half second only. So like that, you need to think like that, right? So this is how do you think basically. Anything else? Any question? You see, you should be having question, right? You see, I am not just for solving 1 or 2 problem or something like that, right? Although like what I'm trying to say is that you can ask some important question, like, and then like it will be more useful actually, right? Because what is the doubt actually you are facing at the current time, in 3rd year in time, or 2nd year or 1st year or 4th year in time, those kind of doubt I can solve actually. Those are more prominent, right? So I can guide accordingly, right? One more thing I wanted to mention is that okay, okay, he's saying that I don't really get the login and in login time complexity. Whenever sorting comes, it will be in login. This is one thing very famous in competitive programming. The moment you sort it, so sorting takes in login time, right? So the moment you write sort something, some array in the C++, it will be taking in login time. So you don't really get the login and in login time. So login time complexity will be something where, so log n, so we are talking about a size where size is n basically, right? So log n means that every time you keep on doing it half in every step basically, right? So login time, so what is the definition? So that means that you are not very much convinced about the login definition basically, right? So what is the definition of login? So the definition of login is that, I mean, what is the value of login or the definition of login, right? So the value of login will be something like how many steps you will take to reach 0 if you will keep on decreasing n by half factor. Did you get what I mean to say? Let me repeat it once again. The value of login tells me that how many times you have to, how many operations or how many you can say that how many what we say, how many operation you are taking to reduce the, yeah, exactly, how many steps you are taking to reduce n up to n basically, and what you will do in each operation or in each step, you're doing n by 2, n by 2, I mean n by 2, then n by 2 ka power 2, n by 2 ka power 3, n by 2 ka power 4. So this is the definition of log n. So the moment you are getting some question where you see that your solution is having like log n time. So you see, so I'm just giving you code examples where the time complexity will be log n. You see this loop, I'm just going towards the definition of the log n only. So I'm starting the value of I from n, and I'm saying that it should be greater than 0, right? And then what I'm doing is I is equals to I by 2. You see, so this particular loop will be log n. Is it clear to you about this loop? Please write Arjun in the chat box. Is it clear to you? You see what I'm doing in this for loop. I started from n, and yeah, so this is log n time complexity, right? And this particular for loop, if it is included in another for loop, and upper for loop is like I is equals to, let me say j is equals to 0, j is less than n or whatever value, yeah, and then plus j, right? So if it is included in some other for loop which is running till n, so it will be n log n, right? So this for both for loops is consisting of n log n time complexity. Additionally, if you are using the sort function, so this is very famous actually, like most of the question I remember like will be involving the sort function. So suppose that one array is there and the size of that is n, right? And then this is the way in C++ to sort an array actually, right, in an increasing order. So the moment you sort it, so this particular sort function takes n log n time. So then also it will be n log n time complexity, like that. N is for first loop, yeah, exactly. So n is for first loop, right? So n is for first loop, and since this second loop is recursive for loop, right? I mean that for every j value, so the second for loop will be running for log n times, right? So how many times j is running? N times, so n into log n, right? Yeah, these things should be very clear to you. If it is not clear, you just clarify it, I mean like as soon as possible, right, to your friends, to whatever, because these are the basics. Otherwise, like in the future, like some problem may be using these basic concepts and you'll not be able to think properly, right? Any other question? Any other question from anyone? Yeah. So I think of course we were having, like, because of corona they organized only 10 sessions, so you can imagine that within 10 sessions I need to complete all the like things, right? Because like all the things, like all the data structure, all the algorithms, right? So of course I cannot do, right, 10 sessions 20 hours. You know what, even in 20 hours you cannot complete even the linked list also. This is the smallest topic. Or even the stack also. The stack also can take many hours, or it can cross 20 hours. So like like, but yeah, somehow also I think they did not charge to you, or it was very nominal charge or something like that, right? So it's like kind of free of cost only, just because for interviews they organize this, right? So just because corona, sorry, they organize it. So this is my last session, and if you are having any doubt or something, you can just contact me on Abhilash Rudra on LinkedIn. Of course I will be available there. Interviewer generally ask us about standard problems mostly. So you see interviewer ask standard problems, yes, that's true, but they can slightly twist it slightly. You know what, like I also take interviews so we don't have much time basically to take interviews and these all things, because our work is already there, right? So these things are apart from the yeah, exactly. So see, that is exact link basically, that yeah. So most interviewer do not have proper time basically, that like they will go through the solution or whatever, right? So what I used to do, like my work is already allocated and this is something additional task, right? So I'll not be paying much heed on the interview. This is just for formality purpose. Like since my manager wants that I should be taking, right, I should be involved in these things also. So after some point of time now, for interviewer it becomes burden kind of thing. Generally it has been observed that he do not feel very good about it. So what I will do, I will just go towards I'll be just reminding some standard problems, And if you want to make more interesting, then I will be just twisting it actually, and I'll just twist it a little bit, and then I will ask that, okay, whether that guy has like remembered the solution or not, or like that, right? So yeah, in general, they ask a standard problem, or they will twist a little bit basically, right? So yeah, this is my profile. So yeah, exactly. So interviewers generally ask standard problems because they don't want to also for. So I am the competitive programmer. I am the competitive programmer, right? But all of the interviewers are not competitive programmer, right? Because like you can feel like that, right? Because all of the interviewers are not competitive programmers. They don't know exactly each bit of it actually, like each bit of the every question. And they also have, for example, you read DS algo now, right? But after 5 years, it may be possible that you will not be able to remember all the DS algo problem, famous problem, right? So for us also it happens like that. We do not remember exactly all the problems. So one who has not competitive programmer and who has not done very like deep competitive program, what he will do now, he will just try to copy some standard problem. And for example, if you take the example of Geeks for Geek website only, you'll see that for Geeks for Geek website, some standard problem is there, and then in the downside they'll providing some twist of the problems, right? So at max what they will do, they will ask the standard problem as the starting problem, and then they will give you twisted problem, and they will see. So you can, like, if you have solved the like similar problems also, then also you will be able to answer it. Exactly. So Ganesh mentioned that I've seen that they open Geeks for Geek and start asking. Exactly, that's true. What to speak about other companies? I'm talking about Amazon guys. So like my juniors, all of like many of my juniors are in Amazon now. So I remember like they used to say to me that like in the interview they will be kind of exactly like one of the guys was telling to me that he just opened Geeks for Geek and he just mentioned one problem, right? And he just mentioned one problem and he was saying that okay, and he was just matching from the Geeks solution only. And it sometimes happened, it also unfortunately happens that the solution give for is something else, and the candidate thought something else, and it was good actually, right? But then since he's not the competitive programmer, he do not understand each and every solution, so he said no, your solution is wrong or something like that. So like that it happens. So it's unfortunate, you can say that, but yeah, this would not happen. But yeah, if someone is competitive programmer now, he can like snatch you like anything. He will just so he can snatch you in the sense that he will just try to he will just try to give some question which is exactly new to you. Then you will be in troublesome, because like it will not be copied from somewhere or something like that, right? So for example, you remember, those of you who are present in my binary search class, I mentioned that the binary search should be thought in other way around, right? Like you try to do the binary search on the like on the solution one. For example, if you know the solution of this question is going to belong from 0 to 1 lakh, right? And you know that what I mean to say is that you remember हम लोग बचपन में करते थे ना, मतलब कि हम लोग ऑप्शन दिया रहता था तो ऑप्शन को मैच करा देते थे कि क्वेश्चन करेक्ट है या नहीं है. मतलब कि हम लोग n के वैल्यू में अगर ऑप्शन दे दिया गया, राइट? So if the four options, multiple choice questions is there, and if the four options are in terms of n, then what you should do, you just keep trying, right? And then you just reject three of them, and then one is the answer, right? So like that binary search can be applied. But like that binary search applies in the sense that cross check. Yep, exactly. So binary search can be applied in the sense that if you know that okay, the answer is going to be from 1 to 1 lakh, so and you know that to try one particular value, basically we do not take a lot of time. So for example, if you know that the answer is surely for this problem is going to be between 1 and 1 lakh, and you know that to try a particular value we just need to do log n steps, right? So what with the final time complexity? The final time complexity, you want to try all the values, right? So all the values are how much? 1 lakh or 100,000. So 1 lakh into log n. So what with the log n value? Log 10 is for 5 basically, right? So 5 t 15 times. So it will just 15 lakh. So 15 lakh can be solved in 1 second. 15 lakh instructions, right? So competitive programmer can ask this type of questions basically, right? But simple interviewer, he will just kind of doing this stuff basically, right? Exactly. But that cannot be implemented in competitive programming problems. But you know what, that can also be implemented. Let me tell you one thing. So in competitions like Hacker Earth and Hacker Rank, no, I'm not talking about MCQ, I'm talking about the real questions, real subjective problems. In Hacker Earth, Hacker Rank, they give you partial marking. You remember they used to tell that okay, there are 10 test cases, if you solve 8 test cases you'll be able to get some marks, right? So for those kind of problem, I remember I remember if I'm like, I used to give a lot of like interview, basically test basically for other guys, like for my friends basically, even for my managers also, I remember. So I have given a lot, I've given a lot of programming contest actually for interview contest basically. Like, you know, in an interview, some of the companies, what they do, they will just post a Hacker Earth link basically, and they will say to you that the first round will be this only. You have to solve this particular contest basically on Hacker Earth, and if you solve more than 50% of the problem, you'll be able to reach up to the second interview level. So I used to solve other friends basically contest basically on Hacker Earth. So if I'm not having a lot of time, so or I'm fed up or something like that, so what I would do is that if some problem is having answer in terms of yes or no, that is the best thing, right? If by mistake the interviewer did not think about it, that array, some guy can do cheating, right? So I will just use a random seed basically. There is a random seed, you can read about it in, like, you can generate random numbers basically. But if you not use the proper seed value, you will be able to generate the same values again and again. But you should not do like that, right? You should write code in such a way that every time it will come a random value. And no, that is what I was telling. Rand will not work actually. You do rand, every time the same value will come. You just try to do it, Sasi. So you just manipulate the seed value basically. Then you'll be able to you'll be able to get different value different times. So based on that value, what I used to do, I'll just use some random seed, and I will just pick the value, and based on that I will decide yes or no. I mean, either 0 or 1, right? So yes or no. And for example, I ran this time my solution, right? And then I got 3 of the questions as correct, right? So I will just check that, okay, which 3 sub problems are correct, or like that, right? So every time I will just repeat my solution. It may be possible that by luck, sometime more than 50% of the sub problems will get solved, and you'll get more than 50% marks, right? Is that not? So this was like few of the techniques I remember. This was cheating basically. If the interviewer has not, if the interviewer is not competitive programmer basically, because a competitive programmer is very well aware of these things, right? He's aware that, okay, like he's aware, very much very well aware that, okay, what guys can cheat basically and what guys cannot actually. You know, in the test cases, in some of the problems are so weak for companies that even if you write some bad solution, some wrong, so then also it sometime passes actually, like that. So I remember that, like, because in companies now, employees do not have much time basically to give to these things basically, right? So like that, it happens a lot of times. So yeah. So like the moment you'll do at least for some few months now competitive programming, for all of you who are in 3rd year, you can do for 2 or 3 months, at least in June, till June actually. And then from June you can start revising the, like, or for 3rd year I will recommend that you just jump up to Geeks for Geeks or LeetCode and keep practicing, like you keep practicing problems basically topic wise. Like you practice DP problems, now you practice tree problem on LeetCode basically, right? See, in the examination hall, what you'll be able to remember now, the questions which you have practiced by yourself, right? Because those questions now, you have seen the solution from Geeks for Geeks, you remember that you are not going to remember the solution in the exam time, right? That is the gist of all the things I'm telling you, because this is the last session. So I just want to tell these things basically, right? Because if you have not practiced a problem now, this is just like mathematics. If you have not practiced, no matter how much you understand the problem or solution, in the examination hall, you'll forget it. So practice is the gist actually. This is mathematics, right? Elder brother of mathematics, I used to say in my college days when I used to teach my juniors in 3rd year. So you have to practice on LeetCode. You practice tree problems. You practice dynamic programming problems on LeetCode. If you're not able to solve, then you go to the Geeks for Geeks, and then you somehow just you just see, and then you try to solve that problem again after a few days, so that you forget the solution, right? Like that, right? So so you should solve the problem. That is the gist actually. The more you solve the problem, the more like more expert you'll become. The more probability will increase that you'll be able to solve a problem in the examination hall. So yeah, guys, um, if you want to ask some other question, you can contact me, of course. But yeah, this is the end of the session. 10 sessions basically I took, and I tried to cover all the topics, at least the most important topics from interview point of view. And I also try to incorporate like my interview experiences, my college days, my computer programming experiences, like that, right? So yes, thank you guys, thanks for patiently hearing. And yeah.